Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The bold and the beautiful B&B spoilers indicate that things will continue to improve for Katie Logan Spencer, Heather Tom at Logan. Bill Spencer, Don Diamant, believes the sky is the limit and will fully support Katie as she continues to expand her fashion empire, but Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang, isn't going to like what comes next. Brooke and Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., will be in Monaco for work from August 10th to 14th. Ridge and Brooke will support Steffi Forrester Finnegan's, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, efforts to increase Forrester's international profile. It appears that Steffi, Brooke, and Ridge will have constructive discussions, which will be cause for celebration for Ridge. Ridge will want to show Brooke the attractions of Monaco and treat her like a queen once business is completed. Unfortunately, B&B teasers indicate that Brooke will find out something that puts her in a sour mood soon enough. Fanny Grayson, LCS Nolt, will inform Brooke of some news that is sure to rile her up. Since Fanny met with Katie a while ago to discuss introducing her perfume to Logan, it appears like the arrangement will go forward. Fanny may convey this to Brooke, making her angry that Katie is collecting Forrester rejects again. Katie hired Eric Forrester, John McCook, when he was depressed over his forced Forrester retirement. Hope Logan Spencer's, Annika Noel. Employment happened after she had really doubted that hope for the future would ever return. Katie is now apparently picking up Fanny, who was unable to find her desired perfumes at Forrester Creations. Brooke may believe it is just another example of Katie making a Forrester-related hire since she is unable to do so on her own. Of course, Katie is quite entitled to hire Fanny at this point. If the Forresters wanted to work with Fanny, they should and would have signed her to a contract. Even nevertheless, Brooke appears to believe that only the Forresters should have lovely things and be successful. That's why Brooke will react negatively to Fanny's announcement and will need Ridge's backing. According to the bold and the beautiful spoilers, Ridge will do his best to refocus Brooke's attention on romance and the beauty of Monaco, but it won't be easy. Katie stood in Logan's immaculate showroom, the soft glow of recessed lighting highlighting the sharp lines of the most recent sketches posted to the walls. The faint aroma of champagne from the previous night's party lingered in the air, despite the fact that most of the workers had long gone home. Bill had kissed her forehead and departed for a late meeting. Will had texted that he was going out to dinner with friends, and Katie was alone for the first time in hours, content with the quiet satisfaction of a plan that had finally come together exactly as she had planned. On the surface, the arrangement with Brooke appeared to be simple. After the slap, the accusations, and the years of simmering hatred that had finally spilled over in the Forrester offices, the two sisters faced each other and drew a boundary. Brooke would keep the Forresters. Katie would keep the Spencers. No more poaching. A handshake clinched the deal. Brooke walked away certain that she had secured the family business she had worked so hard to claim as her own. Katie grinned, agreed to the rules, and quickly began moving the next piece of the board. Brooke had not expected hope. Katie hadn't forced her. She hadn't begged or manipulated. She had simply promised something Forrester would never do. A blank slate, true creative control, and a name that belonged to Hope as much as anybody else. Hope for the future had become a distant memory at Forrester, eclipsed by fashion ambitions and the never-ending battle between Ridge's vision and Steffi's pragmatism. Hope had stepped into Katie's office one afternoon, fatigued and secretly indignant at being sidelined yet again. Katie had listened. Then she was offered the position of creative director at Logan, complete control over the new collection, and the freedom to design without someone else's shadow looming over every sketch. Hope had signed the contract in the same week. The collection had been created in secret. Deke had been hired as lead designer, finally allowing his genius to breathe free of Forrester's political minefield. The pieces were bold, passionate, and shamelessly feminine, with Hope's distinctive stamp. When the show finally aired live, the industry saw Hope walk down the Logan runway wearing the HFTF diamond as a declaration. The applause had been overwhelming. The social media response had been quick and tremendous. Logan was no longer the little sister brand. It was a force. Brooke had discovered the truth in the same manner that the rest of the fashion industry had. In real time on a live stream, while sitting in the Forrester headquarters surrounded by people who had formerly considered Hope family. Katie had expected the blast. She hadn't intended it to get so personal. The next morning, Brooke came at Logan without notice. She pushed by Allison, stormed through the showroom, and halted only when Katie could see the hatred in her eyes. "You took my daughter," she continued, her voice low and wavering. "You went behind my back and stole her." Katie's hands were loosely folded. "Hope is an adult. She made her own decision." Brooke laughed sharply and without humor. "Hope is not Spencer. She is my daughter. She's a Forrester. She belongs at Forrester. She belongs where she is valued," Katie responded. "Where her labor is not considered an afterthought. Where no one is waiting for the next time Ridge thinks the firm requires something more important than hope for the future." Brooke's face tightened. For a moment, the only sound in the room was the faint hum of the climate control system. Brooke then moved closer, jabbing a finger at Katie's chest. "You used her. You used my child to get back at me. First you snatched Eric when he was defenseless. Then you adopted the Logan name. Now you take Hope. Is there anything left of mine that you haven't attempted to claim?" Katie felt a familiar burning rise in her chest, the same heat that had been there since childhood, when Brooke was the golden one and Katie was the quiet afterthought. She forced it down. "I did not take Hope. Hope came to me. And if you had paid half as much attention to her profession as you do to Ridge's mood swings, she would not have needed to." Brooke's hand jerked, as if she wanted to slap her again. Instead, she turned away and paced the length of the showroom, her gaze scanning the exhibits as if looking for anything to smash. She paused in front of the enormous monitor that was still playing video from the previous night's program. Hope's face filled the screen, radiant and confident, dressed in a gown dubbed one of the season's best. Brooke looked at it for a long time. Then she grabbed a heavy crystal prize from a nearby pedestal and threw it at the screen. The glass cracked. The image of Hope broke into a dozen jagged shards and turned black. "I will get her back," Brooke whispered, her voice harsh. "I won't let you keep her. This conflict is not done." Katie watched her sister leave without saying anything. The broken glass glistened on the floor. Allison appeared in the doorway, her eyes gaping, but Katie just shook her head. "Leave it. I'll clean things up later." Brooke's rage erupted over the next few days. Ridge wanted a meeting. Steffi made assertions regarding loyalty. Eric, still frail from his own recent fights, retreated to silence. Donna got caught in the middle and suffered the price, being ordered out of the CEO's office and condemned as a traitor for knowing anything at all. Hope sought to contact her mother. Brooke declined any calls. Katie, meantime, continued to move. The collection was selling. Orders were coming in. Buyers who had previously viewed Logan as a curiosity were suddenly asking special appointments. Bill watched everything with quiet pride, making the occasional sharp remark about how the Forresters had miscalculated her for the final time. Will was overjoyed to see his mother finally standing on equal level. Even Liam, who was still negotiating his own difficult loyalties, agreed that the work was remarkable. But Katie knew Brooke would not accept defeat. The new hiring that had infuriated her was only the beginning. The second one was already in action. Katie had been closely following the sector. Forrester was hurrying to produce its own couture line, hoping to recapture attention after the Logan presentation grabbed the spotlight. The internal conflict was clear. Designers were pulled in too many directions. The deadlines were slipping. And one name kept coming up in secret conversations. A young design genius now under contract at a rival firm in New York, whose contract was due to end and who had already expressed an interest in returning to Los Angeles. Someone whose aesthetic would be great for the direction Hope and Deke were taking Logan. Katie placed the call herself. The offer was generous. Unrestricted artistic expression. Equity alternatives. Instead of a seat in the back row, you'll be seated at the table. The designer accepted within 48 hours. The news was cleverly timed, coming the morning after Brooke gave an interview saying that Hope will soon return home and Logan's triumph was just temporary. The fashion press went crazy. Another significant talent had chosen Logan over Forrester. The narrative altered again. Katie was no longer the outspoken sister. She was the one who created something that people wanted to join. Brooke responded immediately and publicly. She accused Katie of systematic poaching and constructing a firm on the backs of former Forrester loyalists. She described the new appointment as a betrayal of everything the industry was supposed to stand for. Ridge mirrored her, referring to family and legacy while dismissing Logan as a vanity project funded by Bill Spencer. Katie refused to participate in the press war. She merely continued working. Hope, still hurting from her mother's rejection, poured herself into the next collection with zeal. Deke's designs became crisper and more assured. The new designer soon fit in, providing new energy and a unique perspective that pushed everyone to elevate their game. Hope discovered Katie perusing fabric swatches alone late one evening, after the showroom had once again emptied. She sat across from her aunt and remained silent for a while before speaking. "She'll never forgive me, is she?" Katie placed the samples down. Brooke does not forgive quickly when she believes something has been taken from her. She never has. But that doesn't imply you made the wrong decision. Hope's eyes were red-rimmed. "I keep thinking about the years I spent trying to prove myself there. Every time I thought I was making progress, something else took precedence. Ridge's vision. Steffi's vision. The next crisis. I was always the one who could wait. And you got weary of waiting," Katie added gently. "There's no shame in that." Hope nodded slowly. "I just hope she could understand that this is not about harming her. It's about finally performing the thing I was supposed to do." Katie reached across the table to cover her niece's hand. "She'll see it eventually. Or she will not. Regardless, you have a place here. Actual place. Not a transient one." The next week saw another escalation. Brooke returned to Logan, now accompanied by Ridge. They sought a private meeting. Katie agreed, if only to avoid the spectacle of them hovering in the foyer. Ridge began with the customary sermon on loyalty and family. Brooke went for the emotional jugular. "You used a deal I made in good faith to steal my child," she replied. "And now you're stacking the deck with whomever you can lure away from us. How much more can you take until you feel equal?" Katie stared at her sister for a long time. Katie might have flinched back then. The old Katie might have apologized or attempted to console. Katie was gone. "I didn't steal anyone," she explained calmly. "Hope chose this. This is what the new designer chose. They chose a company that appreciates them. If Forrester keeps losing people, perhaps the problem isn't mine." Ridge's jaw tightened. "You are playing a risky game, Katie. Bill's money won't keep you safe indefinitely." Katie nearly grinned. "It's not about Bill's money. It is about the work. And the art speaks for itself." Brooke's voice fell. "I will not allow you to destroy everything I have built. Not the company. This is not my relationship with my daughter. I will fight you for both." "Then fight," Katie responded. "But please understand that I am not the same lady who used to fold whenever you raised your voice. I own a corporation. I've got a vision. I know folks who believe in both. You can continue to call it stealing if it makes you feel better. The rest of the industry calls it success." They went without saying anything further. The silence they left behind felt more powerful than any argument. That night, Katie stood alone in the showroom, looking at the empty runway where Hope had walked only days before. The broken monitor was replaced. The glass had been cleaned. The place appeared spotless again, ready for the next collection, challenge, and inevitable conflict. She reflected about the agreement they reached. Brooke had assumed it would protect her. Katie knew it protected the one move that would cause the most pain. She had not intended to enrage her sister for the sake of wrath. She set out to create something that could stand on its own. If that meant drawing blood, then so be it. The fashion industry was already transforming. Buyers were phoning. Designers were watching. Hope was already shaping the following collection, which would be crisper and more ambitious than the first. The new hire was settling in, introducing ideas that would propel Logan even higher into the spotlight. Brooke could become enraged. She could accuse. She could attempt to recover what she believed had been stolen. However, Katie was no longer waiting for permission or forgiveness. A deal had been achieved. The first blow had struck. The second was already resonating throughout the sector. And Katie Logan was just getting started. Katie Logan stood in the dazzling showroom of her newly created fashion firm, the afternoon light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows and hitting the edges of the meticulously arranged clothes. The air still had the faint aroma of fresh paint and new fabric, a palpable reminder of how far she'd come in such a short period of time. Bill Spencer watched her from a few paces away, his face a mix of pride and calm calculating. Of course he had bankrolled the venture, but she had the vision. Katie was now responsible for every choice, hire and risk. Katie's mouth still tasted bitter from the handshake in the Forrester Creations foyer, which had sealed the deal with Brooke only weeks before. Brooke requested guarantees. No more poaching. No more crossing lines. Brooke claimed Katie could recruit as many Spencers as she wanted, but Forresters were off limits. Katie smiled, extended her hand, and consented. What Brooke failed to realize at that heated moment was that Hope Logan was not a Forrester by blood. She was a Spencer by marriage in some intricate layered way that the family preferred not to delve too deeply into, but more significantly, she was an adult who had grown tired of being ignored. Katie hadn't forced the subject. She had simply opened the door. Hope stepped through it voluntarily. The unveiling of the new collection fell like a grenade. Logan expresses hope. The moniker alone was enough to cause ripples in the Los Angeles fashion community. When the runway event finally took place, Hope stepped into the spotlight wearing the centerpiece design, the HFTF diamond, which caught every camera flash. The industry reacted with the kind of immediate buzz that money could not buy. Orders poured in. Critics who had previously regarded Logan as a vanity project funded by Spencer Publications now spoke of a new vision and unexpected depth. Brooke's reaction had been swift and explosive. She stormed into the Logan offices that evening, her cheeks hot and her voice rising before the door closed behind her. Katie had anticipated rage. She was unprepared for the visceral, personal hate that followed. "You took my daughter," Brooke exclaimed, her voice booming off the lofty ceilings. "You sat across from me and shook my hand, all the while scheming this. First Eric, then the name. Oh, is there anything I own that you will not steal?" Katie kept her voice level. "Hope isn't a child, Brooke. She made a choice. Forrester never given her what she required." The dispute grew until Brooke destroyed a display screen with a thrown object, the crack of glass punctuating her resolve to rescue Hope from whatever trap Katie had allegedly created. Bill had stepped between them before security was required. Brooke fled in a whirlpool of perfume and rage, promising that the conflict was only just getting started. The tension subsided in the following days, becoming cooler and more calculated. Brooke closed ranks at Forrester. Ridge and Eric agreed with her words of treachery. Donna found herself trapped in the middle and rapidly realized that neutrality was no longer an option. Hope, for her part, struggled under the weight of her mother's disapproval despite her creative success. Liam stood beside her, proud but concerned about the bigger family fallout. Katie realized that the arrangement had purchased her a temporary shield. Brooke could rant all she wanted, but she couldn't claim Katie had broken the terms of their agreement. Brooke would never forgive the divide between spirit and substance. During this uncomfortable lull, the following step revealed itself. The resume arrived quietly, hidden among a stack of applications that Allison sorted every morning. Katie was in the middle of a sip of coffee when she noticed the name on the top line. She read it twice, then a third time, convinced she had misinterpreted. The qualifications were superb. The experience listed was extensive and pertinent. The cover letter was concise, professional, and deliberately neutral. There was no mention of previous associations, no indication of the convoluted background that made the application a silent act of rebellion. Katie called Bill to her office. He studied the document quietly before looking up with a slow, knowing smile. "You're thinking what I'm thinking," he replied. "I'm thinking this could either be brilliant or the final match that burns everything down." "Or both," Bill said. "Which is usually how the best moves work in this town." They argued for almost an hour. The risks were evident. Brooke would take the hire as a blatant provocation, regardless of any technical ambiguities. The familial connections were so strong that loyalty issues arose almost quickly. But the talent was evident. The contender presented a skill set that Logan lacked, one that could propel the next collection past the popularity of Hope's debut. Katie made her decision that afternoon. The offer was sent out the same day. Acceptance occurred within hours. The new employee started the next Monday. Word spread faster than formal declarations. By Tuesday morning, gossip websites had already circulated dubious reports. Brooke figured it out by Wednesday.